Excellent. Today I want to talk to you guys about bending and vibrato. It's something I get asked about quite often, so here we go. The bending and vibrato mega lesson. So the first thing you want to focus on when you're learning to bend is to practice your ear training, because you want to know when you're bending perfectly in tune. So there's a lot of different ear training exercises that I recommend. Some have to do with identifying notes on a piano. So you play a root note and then you play another note and you try and identify the interval of the relationship between those two notes. That's kind of an advanced exercise. If you want a basic ear training exercise, then this one is pretty helpful. I stole this from Joe Satriani. Essentially, you will take a note and then you'll move down a whole step and try and bend up to that note without any vibrato. And you want to be able to perfectly identify that note with your ear and be able to tell if it's in or out of tune. So this would be out of tune. Could you hear that difference? If you could hear that, then your ear's already fine. There it is. So once you have that ear training down, and chances are you probably have a pretty good grasp of ear training already. It's not really a difficult thing to hear if something's out of tune or not. So once you're comfortable with that, then you want to actually practice this exercise as its own routine. So go all around the neck and take a note and then go down a half step or a whole step and try and bend up to that note. And we're still not using vibrato yet. We'll get to vibrato, but the first thing you want to be able to do is perfectly bend in tune and then add the vibrato after you have that technique mastered. This would be a half step bend. So I think half step bends are actually a little harder to get down just because you have a tendency to over bend them. But this is definitely the best exercise for bending when you're starting out on your quest to bend in perfect tune. And the mechanics of it are you're really training your muscles, not only your ear training, but you're training your actual fingers to recognize this kind of bending distance. So your muscle memory is developing and you're really training yourself to identify where these pitches are, maybe even if you were like deaf or something. So you would still kind of understand where that relationship is, how far to bend, the distance. It will all make sense as you practice this over a given set of days or weeks. You'll notice your bending drastically improve and you'll be much faster at hitting that pitch. So you may start out slow like this, which is totally cool. But as you develop, you'll get faster at hitting that pitch because of the muscle memory that's developing in your fingers. So the actual mechanics of the bend are as such. I have my thumb over the fretboard like this. Some people train you to have your thumb kind of on the back. I'm not like that. I'm kind of a Jimi Hendrix, Steve Vai, Joe Satriani style holder of the neck. So I feel much more comfortable with my claw wrapped around this. I can really get this anchor point solid, as opposed to maybe if some people train you to do your thumb on the back of the instrument. So find what works for you. I recommend this way. And really what I'm doing is I'm taking my strongest finger, in this case my ring finger. I feel like I can be the most accurate with my bends using my ring finger. And I'm actually kind of fusing my middle finger to my ring finger and creating like this one super finger that is very strong and allows me to concentrate my energy and really control how I'm bending the string. And if you want to, you can even add your first finger to make a triple super finger. And you can see how my thumb kind of comes together to meet the fingers to kind of contract this motion. And this is what's going on the back of the guitar. So I'm really just clutching the guitar, and I'm clutching it pretty hard. I'm not loose on this. I'm pretty stout with my grip. So one more time. Now I'm going to show you some vibrato techniques, and really 90% of vibrato is just understanding where the pitch is, and there's many different versions of vibrato, as you know, so find what you like, what your ear says, yes, that is my vibrato. I would say overall my vibrato is a little on the faster side, but doesn't really waver off the pitch too much. So I like to be right up there on the pitch and kind of have little quarter tone up and down waverings. But like I said, there's no right or wrong way to achieve vibrato. It's just you want to make sure that you are generally on the pitch, and then the style, the kind of articulation that you give to it, you can mess around with after you develop the technique, which is what I will show you now. So what I'm doing is really just vibrating my hand, hence vibrato. There's a lot of different schools of thought on like turning the doorknob, kind of like making your hand actually waver. But like I said, my bending technique calls for my hand to be kind of clawed on the neck. So really, I'm just using this as a pivot point to kind of massage the note on the guitar. And what I'm doing when I get to the top of this bend is I'm loosening up a little bit on my grip and just letting the note fall a quarter step, or not even a quarter step, like a eighth of a step, and then pushing it back up. So it's really, vibrato is just a very, very tiny bend when you're already bent. I know that sounds complicated, but you just try it a few times and see how I get to this point. So I'm at my top of my bend. So that's the process, and then you just kind of speed it up from there. And after you have this perfect bend from the previous step on learning how to bend, you can really employ those mechanisms, those mechanics, into this vibrato, which is really just a mini, tiny little bend. Again, on the back side, there's not a whole lot to see, but this is an example of vibrato from the back angle. So it's really just a vibration of my hand. I'm kind of just like shaking it. And this is obviously, that's not right. So I'm really in control because of the grip on the neck. What I want to do is concentrate on hitting this bend first. So I don't want to start doing vibrato before I'm at my actual pitch. You want to bend up to the pitch and then begin the vibrato technique. So that is it, my friends. Bending and vibrato, the mega lesson. I would say between the exercise that I showed you in the beginning and the mechanics of how to hold the guitar, thinking of vibrato as just tiny little bends once you've reached the pitch that you are aiming at. Those three elements are what make up perfect bends and vibratos. And I'm not saying I have perfect bending or vibrato technique, but considering how many questions I've gotten on this topic, I figured I would make a video and show you how I approach it. It's just so much fun to be able to bend in tune. It can really tie together your guitar playing. Even if you just know basic scales, if you can bend in tune, that'll make anyone's head turn and be like, whoa, that guy knows what he's doing.